Well, thank you for joining me,
Hey,
Josh.
how's it going, man?
This is Josh from With Our Arms to the Sun.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being here.
You have a lot of pot dispensaries around your studio.
I live in the valley. It's kind of necessary.
You always know whenever you're in the valley, like, so I live in Ventura. As soon as you come down over the hill, it's like all the green crosses for the pot dispensaries. Because Ventura County doesn't allow them. There's delivery services, but that's kind of sketchy. It's like
a delivery service.
Gangster delivery guys. It's like the show Weeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what it is. No, it's funny. You drive down, like, right when you get to, like, L.A. County, it's like there's one right there. And
Oh, yeah.
Just drive down Ventura Boulevard.
Yeah, I think I saw like 6 like on your block.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, where we live, it's either it's either like these like gangster cholo guys that show up to deliver it, or it's like hipsters with like they have like the little faux hawks and the man bags and stuff. Yeah. They look vegan.
Might as well just legalize the damn thing at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're on their way to that.
I think so.
I think November it's on the ticket, right? In California? Yeah. I would have thought California would be first. I was actually surprised that Colorado and Washington and all of them were before. But I guess it's basically legal here. I mean,
it is.
I remember after I had knee surgery, I got a card because I lived in Arizona before, and it's harder to get one. And I don't smoke often, for the record. Like, it's very, very occasional. But I remember I got mine online. I didn't even see a doctor. It was like, what ails you? It's like, I don't know, life. And they're like, here you go.
Pain.
Yeah, I have pain. Here's your card.
My eyes hurt.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm anorexic, maybe.
Yeah, my elbow itches.
Yeah.
Always good to start off a podcast talking about pot.
Hey, it breaks the ice.
It's just, you think, I never really even think about pot. And then I drive to LA and I see all the dispensaries and I'm like, oh. Yeah.
It's become fashionable more than
anything. It is. It's sort of like, with like sites like Leafly and stuff, it's sort of like wine now.
Yeah.
It's like this one has a note of pine and cinnamon. Somebody gave me it's like a pot rub. It's like topical. It doesn't get you high. It's like
to hide CBDs or something like that.
Yeah, and it like numbs the muscles, and I put some of it on my neck after jiu-jitsu, and it seems to work. I mean, some of it might be placebo though. I mean, Icy Hot works too.
Yeah. I used to use Icy Hot when I was on the swim team in high school.
Yeah.
I'd douse myself in it before I would jump in a pool. That way I was like super loose.
Right.
I mean, that worked. I got disqualified from a match one time for using it.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know why. I was like, I have a cramp. Nope.
You're on the sauce, man.
Yeah, I'm juicing, or I'm putting something to glide through the water on. What the hell
Do they
wrong with
piss
people?
test people in high school?
Not mine. Not for swimming.
No. Oh.
I'm sure for
I was like, man, that's intense.
I'm sure for other sports they might, like football or something like that. They don't care about swim teams, man.
Right.
Yeah.
Those guys look like they're probably. I mean, the Olympic ones are definitely on steroids, right? I mean, what highly competitive athlete isn't?
I look at like Michael Phelps or something like
right,
that.
I was watching him last night.
He's got to be on something, because there's no way that
Dude, if he peed in a cup for a drug test, he would melt the cup.
Probably.
He's got to be on steroids, right?
World, man, the world is a strange place.
Yes.
And you're in a very awesome independent band, more or less. And the world's changing in music and things like that. But you guys have always seemed to be like the just go out and grind it out type guys.
Yeah, we kind of have to be. It's changed so much. So I'm 35, and I've been playing in bands since I was 13 years old. And early on in my late teens, early 20s, when you would tour, it was very different. Back then people wanted the big multi-million-dollar record deal because they were the only people that could distribute you where you could reach a big audience. But now it's like with the internet, someone can record a single in their basement and literally put it on SoundCloud that night and have it go viral, which is, that changes the game a lot.
It really does. you guys are really talented at what you do. Like, you actually sit there and take time to hone your craft and stuff like that. And there's so much out there that you just listen to. You're like, why? Like, you, just because you have Pro Tools, now you're an engineer type thing.
Oh yeah.
There's just too much. It's oversaturated with too much.
Yeah, there's a lot of fuckery like that. There's a lot of people that social media gives us this platform where you can be a star instantly and share your work. Sometimes you shouldn't share your work.
No.
Like I see that with painters a lot, because I'm a big art. I love art. Like I love oil painting. Like I follow like Chet Zar and Justin Slatem and those guys, Alex Gray, and like I have all these people on my friends list, and some of them are really accomplished, and some of them it's like, man, just wait, take a little time.
Yeah, hone your craft a little bit more.
Yeah,
get it right.
Yeah, but on the flip side, if you don't have the courage to just put yourself out there, you can't grow either.
It's true.
Because there's some people, and bands are a great example. They every time you see them for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, what are you up to? Oh, we're working on a new record. It's like, motherfucker, like you could have put out 5 records by now.
Yeah.
And maybe the first 2 or 3 wouldn't have been that great, and maybe you would have only got 10 fans from it. But you'd be beyond that now, and you would have had that experience under your belt to where you were making a record that's better than this one that you've been working on for 4 years. And that's a big thing. I see that a lot with Trent Reznor. He releases a lot of music.
Yeah.
And he always gets better because he's always delving into whatever the new technology is, whatever the newest cool synth patch is. That dude's on his game. The Melvins, they put out a record, sometimes 2 records in a year.
Yeah.
Mike Patton puts out a lot of stuff. Henry Rollins, like people like that, they stay really active. And I think in this modern kind of ADD society, and we've talked about this before, you have to be that way to keep people's attention.
You really do. You can't take a break.
No break. No.
People want, the whole digital aspect of it. Everyone wants it right then and right now. There's no, like you wait to pre-order an album, but you want, okay, fine, give me the digital copy because I can listen to it, and I'll get the other thing later. Right. But I'm a physical person. I need to have the whole thing. That's just, I don't know. I'm old school like that. I need to have.
Me too.
The whole thing.
I still go to record stores.
Yeah.
I like the feeling of it. I still go to bookstores. I have a Nook that I've been taking the last 2 or 3 tours because I can put a lot of books on it at once. And my brother, the bass player, I know he does the same. He brings his Kindle. Because you don't want to bring like 5 books in your suitcase like you used to. The tech is there, so why not? But I still, when I'm home, I like to go to Barnes & Noble. I like the experience of smelling the books and walking around and just looking at random shit.
Holding a book and flipping through the pages.
Yeah.
It's a totally different, real experience.
It is. It's like, what's the word, tactile? Yeah. Yeah, it's a good experience. I like it. And I think, like circling back to how that relates to music is if you don't continue to work now, if you take a year or 2 off in the music business, you're kind of dead in the water. Yeah. Unless you're a mega band. I mean, you got these bands like Tool and Metallica where they can take time in between and sure, people are going to get frustrated, but by the time they put something out, there's an audience there. There's people that are actually going to listen to it. But a band at our level that's like a baby national band, I mean, we're not a local band for sure, but we're not a mega band. We haven't sold 1 million records. So we have to stay active. We have to have a lot of content, So,
what was the first band you ever really listened to, really got
First band I loved, Smashing Pumpkins. I mean, I'd heard obviously 1,000 other rock bands, but for some reason when that whole grunge era hit, I mean, like everybody else, I liked Stone Temple Pilots. I loved Scott. I loved Nirvana. Soundgarden. I mean, all the bands everyone else liked, I liked as well because it was jammed down our throat. But for some reason, the Pumpkins were the band that really got me. That was the first big concert I ever went to.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was. God, who was the opener? Garbage. Wow. And this was the Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness tour.
Oh
And they just ripped. They played like a long set. It was like 2.5 hours, it felt like. They played that Landslide cover that they do by Fleetwood Mac. It was mind-blowing. It changed my life. I mean, I already knew that I wanted to be a musician at that point. I already knew that I wanted to be a rock star someday. But seeing that, it was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. Like, I want to do that.
I saw the Pumpkins in '98 open for Kiss.
Did you really?
Yeah, on the Kiss's Psycho Circus tour, they played at Dodger Stadium on Halloween. But Smash Pumpkins came out. This was during the Adore era. They came out in suits, kind of dressed like the Beatles.
Oh, wow.
But they sounded so bad. And
Really?
I was a huge Pumpkins fan. I went through this like serious self-doubt thing of like, I can't listen to the Pumpkins anymore.
No.
I think it was like a good 9-10 years before I actually like, really sat down and listened.
Oh man, when I saw them, they were flawless. Yeah, I liked all those bands that era, but I didn't see a lot of them live. I did see a lot of the bands that came at the tail end of that era that were more in, I guess, classified as new metal. Like I saw Rage Against the Machine in concert. I saw Korn, you know, all those bands. Like at the end of that era, because I was too young, I think, to go to those other concerts. Like I never got to see Stone Temple Pilots live. I played a gig with Scott Weiland, but it wasn't with Stone Temple Pilots. It was with Scott Weiland. It was like
his solo stuff.
It was his solo stuff. We opened up for him. God, this must have been. Oh, you know what? It was right before my oldest son was born. So it was about 7 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was. He was interesting. He was pleasant to me.
I'm sure he was.
But we were also sharing the stage, so it's a different kind of bond.
Yeah.
And I didn't talk to him about music. I remember I accidentally walked in his dressing room and he was brushing his teeth, and this little man looks up at me with this awkward look, and he's like, "Hi." But yeah,
skinny, frail Scott Weiland.
Yeah, he was such a good singer.
He really was.
What a shame.
I saw STP a couple times on their reunion era when they finally came back originally, and he was on.
Oh yeah,
spot on.
Oh, he's solid.
But when I saw him with Velvet Revolver, it was a travesty. It was awful.
I wonder if he was using them.
I think he was. I think it was back on.
Yeah, addiction, man. It's rough. Yeah, I feel for him. I feel for his kids, really.
Yeah.
I read that article.
His ex-wife wrote.
Yeah.
That was deep.
Yeah.
That was.
You know, it had
but
to be
it's
said.
honest though. That was the good thing about it.
She was keeping it real.
Yeah. Like,
you know, maybe it's good though, because maybe if there's some other, because you know, like from living this close to LA, like I know because I was in the Hollywood music scene at one point in my career.
Same here.
You know, there's always those people that think they need to be a wounded junkie to get famous, and that's total bullshit. But they buy into it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they think, oh man, I gotta fucking get hooked on something and be a miserable motherfucker to have a career, and they don't realize that works for like 0.1%.
Yeah.
These Jim Morrisons and these Scott Weilands, sure, they break through, but there's a million people that think they're going to do the same thing that don't.
Nope. And
because
they wind up on the street.
They wind up all fucked up.
Yeah.
I knew so many when I lived in Hollywood. So many people that did, you know, heroin and shit that thought that they were going to make it by being a wounded junkie. Wrong business now.
Oh yeah.
This is like the music business is more blue collar now.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go out and work. You have to go out and get your fucking hands dirty. You know what I mean? You can't just sit on your ass.
No, you can't. So Pumpkins are your band.
They were. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say they are now, but I still like them. You know, they did a comeback record a while back. They did two. The newest one
is really good.
Yeah, I haven't heard it. But the one before it, I really liked.
Oceana?
Yeah, they had this. He hired this because he's into like hiring hired guns now. Kind of writes all of his own stuff. You know, he's like Reznor. You know, they both kind of run their own camp, which is cool. But yeah, he hired this drummer who was very super proggy and playing these really cool like tom fills and stuff on that record. And I just really liked it. It reached me. But yeah, there's a nostalgia factor to them. When I hear them, I feel nostalgic.
The new one, the what was it called? Monuments to an Elegy, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Tommy Lee played drums on it.
I heard that.
And it sounds really good.
Really?
Yeah. Like
I
the
have to
songs
check that out.
Like there's maybe like 2 songs on the whole thing that you're just like,
Really?
Yeah, but the rest of it's really
I'll have to listen to it. Yeah, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I don't listen to a ton of music now. There's not a lot of new stuff that grabs me at all. I listen to a lot of old punk stuff whenever I work out. Yeah, Dead Kennedys, Fugazi. I don't know if you classify Fugazi as punk. I would. Yeah, I listen to them whenever I work out. Some really, really heavy music, but I don't. Yeah, there's not a lot of new stuff that really. I haven't heard anything new that really grabs me. Yeah.
It's.
Does Mastodon count? Are they new? They're not really new though. They've been around a while.
They've been around like 15 years, or a little bit over 15 years now.
Those guys make really good
They
records.
really do. That last one they put out was pretty solid.
Yeah, they remind me of the bands that I liked as a teenager that took the time to make a good record and not just a good song. Their records sound like they fit. Everything fits together. Yeah, I love albums like that.
I do too. I'm a big proponent for that.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I really liked when I first heard your band was like, they get it. They get the whole concept of like, let's put this together so it flows. Like you have a genuine flow to a way it all works.
We wanted this particular band to be an album band, not a singles band. We did that, we were on little indie labels and stuff in the past, and had songs on the radio and old bands, and tried to write hits, so to speak. We didn't want to do that in this band at all. We wanted to make like conceptual albums. We wanted it to be a story, like a film or something, where you can put it in and listen to it all the way through and experience it, and take it or leave it. Some people choose to leave it. Some people like it. Whatever. We'll find our audience.
I'm still an album guy. I've always been an album guy. Like I have a ritual when I buy a new CD or record. I have that giant beanbag over there.
I see that.
I put my headphones on. I lay right in front of my stereo and just go into it and sit there with the lyrics and everything.
I love that. I love that there's still people like you. It gives you hope, being a musician. Because I do that too. When there's an album that comes out that I actually want to hear, and usually it's older bands,
Yeah.
I'll take the time to actually sit with like my nicest headphones, and I'll lay in my bed and just close my eyes and listen to it, and see if I get carried away. Sometimes you do,
Yeah. So what is the most fulfilling part of playing music for you?
Oh man, it's changed over the years. When I started, it was just like every other musician, teenage angst, creative outlet, life's hard on me. I'm going to play guitar and sing. You get older, you get really money focused, it's like, oh, this is going to be what pays my bills. And then you get older than that and you realize it's really hard to make money in music. So you somehow find that passion again. Being older now and being a dad of 2 kids, it's it's an outlet. It's something I can escape into my own little world. And I like throwing on headphones and just like disappearing and just like making music, it's hard to say.
What's the band's like main source of influence more than anything?
Do you mean musically?
Just in general.
In general?
Yeah.
Funny, when it started, it was musically, we were really getting into like film scoring and video game soundtracks. We're like, man, let's do that. We're all nerdy. We like video games. Like, let's write music and try to pitch it and get it published and score video games. Well, then we put, an EP on the internet, and it kind of caught fire, and thousands of people downloaded it. And it was like, okay, we need to actually take this to the stage. We actually didn't. We actually released 2 albums before we ever played a concert.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
we had a fan base before we even played a show. We didn't even plan to play live, and then the demand came for it, and we kind of saw a door open, and, we didn't want to sleep on it. We're like, let's go do it. But originally that was the inspiration, we liked the video game music and film music because there's no format to it, and there's not enough bands that do the non-formatted stuff. Outside of that, I don't know, the influence in the beginning was just, this is going to sound super cheesy, but just friendship, it was me, my brother who plays bass, and my best friend since I was like 13 years old, Leary, that played guitar. And it's like, we'd been in all these bands. We had, succeeded and failed, feast and famine, went on, had our moments where we tried to go back to college while doing music. And, everybody has those little crises in their 20s. We went through all that. And then we were just hanging out, and we were getting together once a week at my house in Arizona. We were podcasting. We had a comedy podcast, where we'd sit and just like make fun of mainstream culture, kind of like South Park Live. I did a lot of dick jokes, and we were just doing that. And then because I was a recording engineer and I guess a producer, I was consistently writing music still, even during all that time. And then I wrote the first EP, the first handful of songs I'd written on my own, and I kind of showed them to the guys after a podcast to say, hey, check this out. I've been writing this stuff. It's kind of weird. And they were basically like, hey, can we jam on it? I said, yeah, sure. Delete the bass track I wrote, delete the other guitar, or if there was one guitar, just Larry would write to it. And then that was poof, first EP done. And then we put that on the internet. So in the beginning, the inspiration was just friends, just hanging out, wanting to do something fun. We didn't have any grandiose whatever. We didn't know that we were going to get a record deal. We didn't know that we were going to play with Tool. We didn't know we were going to go on tour and all that. It was just us having fun, man. Just having a good time.
That's cool.
That's how music should be.
That's exactly. It's organic in that nature that it comes from something like that. It's not forced.
Everything that's happened in this band, even on the business side, has been organic. We found our management organically. We got our record deal organically. Everything that's come in my life and this particular band has all just been the universe coming in and intervening and saying, here you go, here's another door. I think it's about being intelligent enough to know when the door is opening, and when you see a door open, not being a lazy fuck and just going through and trying. You got to try sometimes. People are so big on when they hit their first wall, just quitting. And it's like sometimes you're meant to hit a few walls before you find the door. So you just got to keep running against the wall. Eventually you'll bust through it.
You mentioned that you play with Tool. Do you find it to be more challenging to play in front of with bands like that, or to be more on your own?
Well, we only played one show with them. It was a festival. It was Tool, Primus, Coheed, Cambria, and us. There's different challenges to... When you play to 20,000 people, it's obviously different to playing to 3 people.
Right.
I'd like to think that I give the same amount of energy on stage to either size. I try to play every show like I'm about to be attacked by a bear. And
that's a really good way to think about it. Next time I see you, all I'm going to think about is there's a bear. I might even wear a bear hat just to see what you.
Well, you've seen me play. Don't I look like I'm being attacked by a bear?
Yeah, you kind of do.
I just try to go out and give 200%, and my bandmates are the same way. You just go out and just, fucking headbang till your arms fall off. And when you play to a big crowd like that, you feed off of it.
Yeah.
There's always that little ego stuff that creeps in before you get on stage. If it's an ocean of people, it's like, oh God, are they going to like me? But man, you got to get past that shit. This is not a business for people that are of a weak mind. No. You have to be strong. You have to just muscle through and be like, fuck it. I would go out tomorrow and play 20 dates with Slayer, and their fans would probably fucking hate me and throw things at me, but I don't care. I would throw down and give 100% because that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's the challenge of that, of getting past your own ego and not being afraid. But once you're up there playing, it feels the same playing to 200 people as it does to 20,000. You just kind of zone out and you just do your thing.
Yeah.
It's fun. You notice it in between songs when you hear a big crowd of people. It's like, whoa, that's cool. That's a good experience. But yeah, it was fun. It's good for the resume, you know.
Absolutely.
A lot of people ask about it. Everywhere I go in the country, what's it like to play with Tool? Did you meet Tool? What's Maynard like? It's like, oh, God.
It's obligatory questions.
I joke with people. I'm like, he appeared out of thin air. He did. He appeared out of thin air. How did you get that gig? How did you get that gig? I don't know. Working hard, you get gigs, I told someone that I was his landscaper once because they wouldn't fucking leave me alone. They kept messaging me on Facebook, because they have some really hardcore fans,
They do.
Oh, tell me this, tell me that. How'd you do this? How'd you do that? I said, look, man, I'm his landscaper. I mow Maynard's lawn. That's how I got the gig. Yeah. The truth is I don't know him. He wouldn't know me if we walked by each other on the street. He wouldn't be like, oh, there's Josh.
Yeah.
It was just another gig for everybody. It just happened to be a really great festival where all the bands on the bill were similar in energy, and it was awesome. It was a really fun day. It was great.
Just to go off into this fun little tangent topic here, Temple of the Dog decided to get back together recently.
Temple of the Dog.
Yeah. They had one album, It was a tribute album of sorts, and now they're going back and playing. I'm a little weirded out by it.
Is that the song that I'm going hungry?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's Chris Cornell.
It's Chris Cornell, Mike McCready, Stone Gossard, Jeff Ament, and Matt Cameron.
Okay, so it's the guys from Soundgarden and Pearl Jam.
Mm-hmm.
How do I feel about it?
Yeah.
I think it's cool. Man, I wish they'd find some of the smaller bands that are newer, like ours and other bands like us, and take us out on the road as an opener to help usher in something new instead of more of the old stuff. But that's cool. I mean, right on. It sounds like a fun project. I mean, they all have their big things that probably make them millions of dollars. I don't know. I never heard the record. I know the single. I never heard that whole record.
A lot of people have never heard the record.
I loved Soundgarden, and I loved Pearl Jam back in the day. So, yeah, maybe. Could be cool. Do they have a new record?
No, they're just playing.
Just touring?
Yeah, they're just doing a few shows just to...
I'd check it out. It'd be kind of cool. Again, the nostalgia.
Yeah, there's a whole nostalgia
Why
factor
not?
going behind all of it.
I saw, I wasn't super into Audioslave, but I saw them live for the same reason. I was like, hey, it's the guys from Rage and Chris Cornell. I don't know, this supergroup thing gets tired, though. I mean, I feel like, you know how, they figured out they could remake, Transformers, and it made $1 million, so they keep making remakes. To me, that kind of reeks the supergroup thing of a remake. It's to me, it's the equivalent of like remaking the fucking Goonies. You don't need to remake the Goonies. It's a great movie. It's a classic.
Yeah.
We don't need to remake it, but they will.
I think if you're gonna do a supergroup thing, you have to only do original stuff. Like I saw Audioslave when the first album came out, and it was just all the first album stuff. And when the second album came out, they started playing Soundgarden songs, Rage songs.
Yeah, I don't want to see that guy sing Rage songs.
It was
and
awful.
I don't want to see them do Soundgarden songs.
It takes away from what it is just because they're in the It's just,
and the music's got to be different.
Yeah.
It's got to be very different.
It has to be.
It can't sound like derivative of the band that you're famous for.
Exactly.
It's just cheesy.
Yeah.
It just there's a cheese ball factor to it. I don't know if I can get behind it. But then if I was in their shoes, and I was friends with another band that got famous around the same time as me, and they're like, hey, man, let's do a supergroup for fun this summer since your bass player's taken 3 months off to go to the Bahamas. It's like, yeah, why not? Let's go play some gigs. So on that regard, maybe it's just a bunch of bros that are like, hey, let's go fucking tear it up and play some gigs for fun.
Maybe, yeah.
Or maybe they miss playing clubs. I could assure them that it's not as fun as they probably think it was.
Yeah.
It's pretty brutal to do club tours. But come on in. The water's warm, boys.
It's crazy too. You think about it. You in LA, the clubs have a nostalgia factor too. Like you walk into the Roxy, you walk into the Whiskey. There is that thing of like, oh, like Led Zeppelin and the Doors played here. Like, oh, this is cool. But then you like look around, you're like, this place is a shithole. Yeah,
and then there's like a fucking turd on the floor in the bathroom. Yeah, dude, I hate Hollywood. I'm not a fan. I'm sorry. I've never been into the Sunset Strip thing. I didn't like it when I lived in Hollywood. In fact, when I was in bands when I lived in Hollywood and we had to play there, I dreaded it because I knew I'd have to pay to park, $50 to park your car. There's all these weird fees. It's like, when you go to a strip club and you walk in and it's like, oh, it's $10, and you get in there like, but it's a 5-drink minimum and this and this and this. It's like, oh, I got railroaded. I just wanted to see some side boob. That's what the Sunset Strip feels like for me. It's like a really raunchy strip club where you get in and you have to buy a bunch of drinks, and then the stripper's overweight and on meth and sick. That's a Sunset Strip to a T.
Now, anytime I go down there, I just have the visual of that. Thanks. Gosh. Well, you're playing out there in a couple weeks. How do you feel about that?
Come see me August 25th at the Viper Room. I feel good about it. It was kind of a warm-up gig before our tour, and everyone's going to be in town, so why not? It's us, the band Socionic. They're real good.
Really good.
Yeah. We're actually taking them out on the road. They're coming on the road with us for the whole... they're touring with us all the way out to Chicago and then back to I think Boise, and then they're splitting back home to go back to the 9 to 5, and then we're splitting up the other way, I think up towards Seattle.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But yeah, they're coming out on the road with us. They're real good.
Yeah,
Combs playing, they're good. They're real progressive, weird band. And then Mal's playing, and they're great.
Yeah.
They're like a really good band too. So it'll be fun. I know all the bands, so club gigs are way more fun when you know all the bands. No egos.
Yeah.
Everybody's friends. You're all just having fun. You're supporting each other. Those are good gigs. It's rare when you're a part of a scene, because there's not really
There's
a
not
scene.
a scene anymore.
There's no scene anymore.
No, there isn't.
So when you have a few friends, you know, that are in bands and you get to play with them, you get excited.
The Viper Room, to me, though, like of all the places left on the Sunset Strip, it seems to be like the only one that's really trying to still like not hold on, but like just still push out like local bands that are good. Like,
Yeah.
like showcase bands instead of like the generic, like let's just throw, like, you know, you go to a whiskey show, like there's 15 bands and you got to get there at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like the first band started at 4, but you're like, wait, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, that whole pay to play
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah, I don't
The
do
Viper
that.
Room still has that like cool vibe to it, where it, like,
Yeah.
you know, you pack a good amount of people in there, and it feels intimate. And
Yeah. River Phoenix died on the sidewalk.
there's a cool vibe about that place still.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see you
It
guys
should
play
be
there.
fun. I guess I'm jaded because I'm old. To me, they're all the same. I've played all these clubs across the country so much.
You've seen one, you've seen them all.
You've seen one, you've seen them all, man. They all have shitty bathrooms.
They really do. They get worse as you go too.
You never know what to expect. I always just, in my heart of hearts, I just hope that I play a good gig and that there's maybe some pizza, and that people buy merch. But no, to not be so cynical. Yeah, August 25th, Viper Room. That'll be fun. Come down.
I'll be there. You know I will.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad that you're taking Socionic out with you too. Like two solid, really good bands that, you know, can play well with each other. And
Yeah. They're good, and they're making their way. You can tell that they're real close to starting to have a career.
Yeah.
So it's good to try to help people, because you never know. They could turn around and land some big tour with Metallica, and then maybe they'll help us. It's okay to help people.
Yeah, exactly.
People in the music business are so fucking out for themselves, and it doesn't have to be that way. It's not football, dude. There's plenty of room for everybody to have success. We're all different, you know. But yeah, a lot of bands, you know, approach us and say they want to go on the road. And then we say, okay, you know, these are the details of how it'll be. And most bands are like, oh, I can't do that. I can't leave my job. These guys actually want to go out and starve for a bit, so good for them.
They're hungry. And
that's the way to get there.
It is.
That's the way to get there. You got to do a lot of chores like that in the beginning. But it's fun. We'll have a good time. We'll try not to pull practical jokes on them too much.
What do you think about the vinyl resurgence itself, though?
The vinyl resurgence, it's really weird. Man, you know, up in the Pacific Northwest, the last couple tours I did, the bands up there are selling cassette tapes.
Yeah,
that's
weirding me
even
out.
stranger. It's like, wow, that's a thing again? Cassette tapes sound awful. They get stuck inside the player.
Rewind,
But
fast forward.
It's a thing. People like collectible stuff.
Yeah.
I see it with this whole like Comic-Con culture and people that love Walking Dead and stuff. I'm part of that culture. I love collectibles. I love toys and nerd shit. So it just plays into that. Music's become a little more background than it used to be.
Do you feel like it's more become a novelty as opposed to like a substance?
Yes, more of a novelty in a lot of ways. It's substance to some. There are people out there that literally music still saves their lives.
Right here.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. There's people like that. But for the most part, it's a hybrid, you know. It's a hybrid of it being a novelty and collecting a really cool record that has amazing art, and, you know, a really cool DVD of a show or something that has really cool like bonus features. But, you know, it's got substance too. It's a hybrid.
Yeah.
I would not discount the kids. A lot of musicians my age do that. They think the younger culture is dumb. Opposite. They're fucking smart. They're smart. They grew up in an age where they can hold a tiny computer. They're brilliant.
Yeah.
So you can't fake it. They have a bullshit sensor a mile wide. Like if you get on stage and you wear the tight pants and the hipster clothes and you have the perfect haircut and you look real cute and stuff, that shit doesn't work anymore. You have to get on stage and fucking be real. And if you're real, the young kids will get it and they will identify with it. We see it all the time. Younger kids that come up, they're like, oh shit, that was real. And it's like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we're playing real stuff. We're really rocking and rolling.
You
You know, you have to be real.
You have to leave it all out there. Like you're playing, like every show is like your
Yeah.
last show. You have to.
And
really
the internet makes it where anyone can be a critic. So that said, you have to make good shit. If you make bad shit, people are gonna comment on how shitty it is. If you make good stuff, opposite, it'll float. You know, it'll rise a lot quicker. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to pander to the young generation. I don't care who buys my shit. But personally, I think they're a lot smarter than people want to give them credit for. I think that's an old crotchety man thing. I do it. I hear new stuff and I'm like, oh, that's not as good as when I was young. I don't know. I think it probably is to them.
So yeah,
I just don't get it because I'm old.
Same here. I'm the same way.
But then there's TV shows and stuff that the younger generation likes that I do like Stranger Things.
Stranger Things was great.
Have you seen it?
I did.
On
That
Netflix?
was awesome.
Good Lord. It blew my mind.
Me too.
I fucking loved it. And I loved it for a reason that they can't understand because I grew up on the 80s.
Exactly. That's
the
why.
Goonies.
It was Goonies,
Poltergeist.
Stand By Me.
Yes,
like,
yeah.
It was the kid Dustin. He reminded me of Chunk a little bit.
Sure.
It was
Same.
like, I'm like,
Same.
what?
That's funny you drew that parallel. Yeah, I did too.
Just kind of had that feeling.
Yeah, but you know, the younger generation likes it because it's cool and it's, I don't know why they like it. They like it for their own reason. But we both agree that it's great.
Yeah.
And that's what's important. You know?
That's
Walking Dead.
I had to give up on that.
Really?
Yeah. It became too convoluted of just you know how like Lord of the Rings movies, like, don't get me wrong, they're good movies, but they just like drag too long. Like there's so much, like, just get to it already.
Those are fighting words, sir. I'm just
go.
kidding.
Let's
No,
go.
I love Lord of the Rings.
But I'm you know, just drawing it out, like making it.
They did a couple seasons of Walking Dead, in my opinion, and my opinion is whatever. I value it very little, but you can value it however you want. I think they did drag it out, but I think they finished real strong.
They always finish strong. They start slow, get better.
The end of this last season, when they introduced Negan, one of the best monologues I've seen on TV. I'm not gonna lie, it's intense. You should watch it.
Maybe I'll give it.
It'll
a shot
suck you
again.
back in.
We'll see. You're a family guy and you're on the road. How does it feel to you to be away from your family, and how do they feel about it with you?
It's awful. I'm not gonna lie. It's horrible. Thank God for FaceTime.
Yeah,
I can FaceTime my kids. Man, if FaceTime didn't exist and I had to just imagine what they look like, what they're doing, it'd be really hard. But I FaceTime them every day. My brother FaceTimes his daughter and his kid every day while we're on the road. Our other two bandmates don't have kids. But yeah, it's rough. It's hard to be away from your kids. You know, you get a little more businessy in what you'll agree to, because it's like, man, if I'm going to be gone for 5 weeks, I want it to count for something, you know? And you don't want to make it all about money, because it's got to be about art too. There's a balance there. There's a very fine balance. And I don't think I found that balance. I don't know that anyone has, that I know, that's a musician that has a career doing it. But it's hard. You know, you miss them like crazy. You can use it as fuel. You know, you get on stage and you're like 10 times as aggressive as you would have been because you miss your kid. You get to tap back into that angst all over again, but in a whole new way.
Yeah.
It's sad. I miss him. I missed my son's first and second birthday.
Oh, wow.
My youngest son, and his third birthday, we celebrated it right before I left for tour, but I missed his birthday. I've missed every birthday of my young son. My older son, I've missed 1 or 2 birthdays. That's really hard. I've never had to miss Christmas because the music business shuts down around the holidays,
It really does.
which is great. So Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, I'm home. Unless there's something amazing. You know, if there's some mega 100,000 person music festival around Christmas, I'm going to go play it. But I'm going to take my kids with me and my wife with me. When we do bigger festivals, I bring my wife. At the very minimum, my wife comes, which is nice. But yeah, you know, you miss a lot of stuff. It's hard. It's a really tough business. But I also look at it the same way as any other person has to be away. You know, military people have to be away from their kids. Truckers have to be away from their kids. Like I said, this has become a blue-collar business where you have to go work.
Yeah.
And if you're not touring, you're not making money. That's just the long and short of it. So it is what it is.
Well, at least you have a support system that will let you
I do.
allow you to be able to be you and do all that.
My wife and my kids believe in me very much.
I think that goes
my
a
wife
long way.
believes that I have the potential to do something very big. And my kids do too. And you know, they have their passions that I support too. My wife loves dance. I support it. I love watching her do her ballet and stuff when she was doing that heavy. My kids, my oldest son is really into swimming. He just saw Michael Phelps last night on TV and was way into it. He's like, could I do that? I said, fuck yeah, you could do that, because I encourage them. And I try to just try to have their back and be passionate. I'm not a wounded junkie when I'm not on tour. When I'm home, I'm like cooking dinner, I'm helping, I'm like taking my kids to swim lessons. I'm, being a dad full time. I put as much of my energy into them as I can. You can't put all of your energy into kids because you'll go crazy, because kids can really stress you out when they're young. I have very young kids. But when I'm checked in 100%. I just do the best I can.
That's pretty awesome, man. I got to tell you.
I'm very lucky. There's a lot of musicians that do not have even a girlfriend that's a support system. They have a girlfriend that bothers them every day while they're on tour. Why aren't you home? It's like you're on vacation. It's like, no, I'm not on vacation. I'm working. This isn't fun.
I'm sitting in a van driving.
Yeah, I'm in a van for 6 hours. I got 4 hours of sleep last night.
Yeah.
People don't know what the day is like when you're on a tour.
Yeah.
You wake up, you drive 3-4 hours, you get to a venue, you have to sound check at like noon, 2 o'clock, then you sit for 4 or 5 hours, and then you play, and then you have to stay all the way till the end because you want to sell as much merch as you can. So you could be there till 3 in the morning. You may drive another hour till 4 in the morning, sleep till 8 in the morning, 4 or 5 hours, get up, do it all over again. And you do that for like 5 straight weeks, 7 days a week. You don't get a lot of downtime. It's not a vacation. It's work.
Yeah. There's no,
It's fun. I mean, it's a fun job. I can't think of a job that I've had that I like more. But yeah, it's work.
What's your favorite city you've played?
Ooh, favorite city. I have a lot of favorite cities, but it's not that they're my favorite cities because they're fun to play. They're just really cool to look at. I love Fort Collins, Colorado. I love playing and being in Eugene, Oregon. Man, that's a cool town. The people there are so nice and artistic and just like great. I love Austin, Texas. I like being around the city of Chicago. Feels good. I like...
Well, good. I'm glad you think that because you're playing Riot Fest later this year.
Yeah, I'll be there pretty soon. I like, man, so many places. You can find something you love about anywhere, even if it's just fun to laugh at the place. You realize real quick that the place you grew up in isn't the coolest place, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I grew up in Arizona, and I already knew Phoenix was not the raddest place to live.
All the bands you've toured with, is there anyone that sticks out with you as like, man, I would love to like really go back out on tour with that band?
No.
No?
I got to spend some time with Buzz Osborne recently from the Melvins, and I got to work with him a little bit, and then he invited me to his concert at the Troubadour, and I got to talk to his bandmates and stuff backstage and spend a little time and watch how they tour. So I'd love to tour with them. I think touring with the Melvins would be a lot of fun. I think would be a good fit.
So.
And I think the vibe of those guys, it's very laid back. They're not rock stars, They're not going to tell us to turn our amps down because it's disturbing them while they eat their muffins or any of this silly shit you hear. There's a lot of fuckery, a lot of ego in the music business, You go on tour with people and you just... the way they act, and a lot of divas out there, man. I mean... Like I said, we're more blue collar. I mean, if we're touring with a band and a band's opening for us, yes, you can fucking hang out in our dressing room. Yes, if there's food there and it's extra food, eat, hang out, have fun. Don't put anyone on a pedestal because none of us belong on one. We're just people, man. Music, and it's important, and we all love music, but at the end of the day, we're just humans. Like, so yeah, Melvins. I'd like to tour with them. They seem very human. But yeah, I mean... outside of that, not really. I mean, I'm not going to say anything mean about any bands I've toured with, but there's not any bands I've toured with where I'm like itching to go back out with them because of their personalities. Maybe the crowds, so.
That makes total sense too.
The guys in Tool that I've met are really nice. I had a good conversation with the drummer at Primus. Very down to earth, kind, very kind. I mean, you meet people all the time, in the music business where you're like, man, this guy's really nice. So, I mean, be cool to tour with them. I'd go on the road with Tool or Primus. That'd be fun.
Yeah. It would fit well with you guys, too.
That'd be great.
I have a fun little scenario thing for you. If you can create a band of anybody, living or dead, up to 5 people, who would be in your dream band?
Oh man,
Totally putting you on the spot.
I'm all about new things. I'd rather just see a new band of people that no one's ever heard of. But old people, that they have to be dead or what?
They could be alive or dead. Be
Oh.
Anybody.
Man,
It's one of those things because like you're
Johnny Depp, Keith Richards. No, I'm just kidding.
aren't they the same person?
Don't they have a new band? Alice Cooper. No.
Oh, it's Joe Perry.
Oh, it's Joe Perry.
They look
okay.
Keith Richards, Joe Perry. They kind of look. They both look dead. So I
Yeah,
don't know.
same thing. Man, I don't know. I went through a phase where I really liked Jim Morrison.
I did. I've always had a
Yeah.
strong
Yeah, I think.
infatuation with
Yeah,
Jim
he'd be
Morrison.
the singer probably. A good drummer to bring back would be Bonham.
Yep.
Zeppelin. I mean, come
Yeah.
on, it's Bonham.
Yeah.
Oh man, bass player. Oh, probably go with someone alive. Like Flea or Geddy Lee or something. God, Geddy Lee rips.
He does, except when he opens his mouth. I can't deal with it.
Oh, you're not a fan of his singing?
Look, if Rush were to put out instrumental albums without the vocals,
They'd be one of your
they'd
favorite
be one of
bands.
my favorite bands.
Yeah, a lot of people say that. He's got a really high voice. I had never heard Coheed and Cambria until we played with him, and that dude has a really high
Yeah.
voice. But you know what? I dig it.
They write
It's
good
cool.
songs.
Yeah, for sure. Some people, Rush is an acquired taste.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be cool to see Jim Morrison from The Doors and Jello Biafra singing at the same time from Dead Kennedys?
That would be really interesting.
Because they're both like kind of anti-establishment. They're both like, basically anarchists or nihilists in their own way.
Yes.
That'd be kind of cool to put them together. For a guitar player, I could never pick. I have so many that I love. I mean, I love Jimmy Page, dude. Oh, Jimi Hendrix. There you go. Jimi Hendrix. What a weird band.
Seriously.
Yeah, that'd be my...
That would be a really eclectic, interesting, really like.
There'd have to be a keyboard player.
There has to be.
So maybe the dude who... God, I feel awful for not knowing this, but what's the name of the keyboardist that died in Pink Floyd? Do you know? Neither of us know, huh? They just made the Endless River.
Richard Wright.
Richard Wright would be in the jam there. That dude rips.
Yeah, he does.
Man, that Endless River was cool.
Yeah,
Did you listen to that
I
Pink
did.
Floyd record?
There's some really cool stuff.
It's like you're hanging out in the studio watching them jam.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's one of the ones I listened to with headphones when it came out. Yeah.
It seems Pink Floyd's definitely one of those headphones bands though.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
there's so much in there you miss when you just listen to it on a regular stereo.
There's a lot of Easter eggs, a lot of things that you hear the album 20 times and you hear something new. We're trying to do that too. We're trying to get better at that. When we write records, we're trying to think of things we can hide in there that people won't catch at first. It's fun.
What's your favorite part about writing a song?
My favorite part about writing a song, just that whole escape that we discussed. Putting on headphones and just kind of just disappearing. But I also like the camaraderie of jamming. I'm a jammer. Like if you can get everyone in a room at once where you can all hear each other, which is a challenge, and get all the instruments going, it's fun just to jam. We've had these like 20-minute long just jams, that sound like a big psychedelic jam you'd hear at Woodstock, and I love that vibe too. I've always wanted to make a record that's all jams, where you just set up a bunch of mics and you spend like 3 months in a cabin in the middle of nowhere and just jam every day, just these 15, 20-minute long ones, and record them all and then just release it like a 4-hour long CD of just jam sessions.
I'd buy that. I would buy that. If you did that, I would totally buy that. I really would.
I think it could happen if we could get a label to agree to us doing that, because that's... Everyone wants a studio record, You mention live record to a label, they get scared, So we'd have to do it kind of DIY probably one of these days,
I could see like you guys doing that at like putting together a show, like a quiet secret show somewhere, and just
I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to book a
crazy visuals
concert.
and stuff.
I've always wanted to book a concert with no set list. Just get on stage and play whatever you feel, and it's either becomes an hour of eclectic cool or an hour of fuck. Either way, it would be a cool experience for
Definitely
me.
would.
I'd be on board for that. In fact, I would join a super group like that. I have a few friends that are real jammy and other bands that tour and stuff. If they wanted to do something like that, let's just book like a tour where we just play whatever we want every night. I'd jump all over that. Because I'm not music theory trained. I have to do it all by ear. So I'd have to just figure it out as I go, and I like that. I like Happy Accidents. Bob Ross, man. Telling you, watch the Bob Ross series on Netflix. Watch him paint.
I will watch this.
Dude.
I'll write it down right now.
Happy Accidents. You watch him paint, and it changes your philosophy on life. I am going on tour with Our Arms to the Sun. We are playing August 25th at the Viper Room in Hollywood, California. September 7th at Lowbrow Palace, El Paso, Texas. September 8th, The Mix in San Antonio, Texas. September 9th in Houston, Texas. We also have dates in Dallas, Texas, Little Rock, Arkansas, Nashville, Tennessee, Indianapolis, Indiana, Detroit, Michigan, Toledo, Ohio, Chicago, Illinois, and then we're about to announce, I think, 15 or 20 more cities.
Damn.
So I say I don't have a lot going on.
Don't have a lot.
To me, that's light. Usually I have a lot more going on than that. But I'm going to be busy. We're going to be out on the road from basically the beginning of September until close to Halloween.
Wow.
So if you live in the United States, unless you're on the far, far East Coast, chances are you could see us. So please come out, hang out with us, meet us. We're cool guys.
They
come
are.
Talk to
they
us.
really are. That was one of the best decisions you'll make is to go see this band. Seriously. I when I started writing Audioeclectica, one of the main things was for me to show people that like there is good music out there still. You just have to look for it. You have to find it. Yeah. And when I came across your band, I was one of those things of like I got up from my desk and I walked away. I was like, no, like this isn't happening right now. And I came back and listened. It was Cosmonaut was the song.
Oh, thanks.
And I was like, no, that's fucking amazing. Like this is real. I haven't heard of something like this in a long time, and that was like made me like, damn. Like one, it made me happy that I found something like this. I wanted to go see it, and then it made me want to pick up playing again.
Oh, thanks, man. That's a big compliment. So I appreciate that.
I really I appreciate your doing what you do.
You're one of the few people that has heard our new record that isn't even out yet.
I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. I really, really think the new record is like above what you guys just did before.
I hope so.
It really is. It's a totally other like step up dimension wise for you guys.
I can't wait for people to hear it. Should be out hopefully early next year or the end of this year. We're still dialing that in, so we'll see how that goes.
When that comes out, it's called Orenda.
Orenda, yep.
What is that? Where did you get that title from?
Orenda. Our guitar player Joe Leary came up with it. It was, I believe, an article or something you read. Orenda is something that I don't wanna quote it wrong. I actually saved it in my phone, the meaning that he had quoted to me originally. Sorry.
No,
I sound like I'm bumbling here.
Blah 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 blah.
It's like a divine force that all people have within them.
Oh.
It's called Orenda. And it originally stemmed from Native American culture. Joe Leary had discovered it when he was probably reading something on the internet, brought it to us and said, hey, I think this kind of describes the direction where this new handful of songs is going. What do you think? And we all agreed. We liked it. So Orenda is what we decided to name it. It's a concept album. The main character in the album story kind of parallels my own, and it's cool. It's split up into chapters like a book, and it tells a whole story. I won't give too much away because I want people to kind of interpret it for themselves. But yeah, it was the Iroquois Indians. It's a name for a spiritual power inherent in everybody.
That's knowing that now, and I've heard the record, it really does fit.
Awesome.
It really does.
Very cool. So yeah, that's the origin of that, and I think as people listen to it, they'll pick up more on the story. Some of it's pretty obvious, like if you listen to it. Some of it's not, but that's the fun in making a record.
On the previous stuff you did, it was mainly more instrumental. What really made you want to sing more on this one?
Originally, I was pushed by the business people and my bandmates to sing again. I was burned out on singing. Every band I'd been in, I was always the singer, and I didn't want to be a front man. I didn't want this band to have a front man. I wanted it just to be music that people liked. I didn't want there to be some dude dancing around that took away from how cool the music and the progressions were. So we tried to make the vocals more like another instrument, try to create our own noises, our own sounds with the voice. There's layered parts in the album, as you've heard, where all of us are like yelling at once. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Things like that. We rented this little place in the middle of nowhere in the desert, and we just kind of sat in there and we experimented for, I don't know, probably a month if you added up all the time, just like coming up with weird noises and weird ways to layer all that, and it came together pretty well. But yeah, originally I was pushed, and then when I dove in and started singing again, I fell in love with it again. Kind of found my stride, and I think you can expect to hear vocals from now on. We're definitely not going to be an instrumental band anymore. We've kind of gone too far now, past the point of no return, and people will get what I mean when they hear this record, because there's a lot of, a ton of singing on it.
Yeah.
I mean, compared to our old stuff, lots of vocals. So, and it's fun. I have to take better care of my throat on tour, though, now,
Yeah.
Drink olive oil shots. And
olive oil shots.
You've never heard of that?
No.
Drink olive oil before you go on stage. A little shot of it, shot glass. It lubes up the vocal cords.
Really?
Yeah, it might just be a placebo effect.
Huh.
Like the pot rub, but it seems to work. Your voice gets tired, man. If you have to sing like 42 shows in a row,
Yeah.
holy shit, by the end of that, you don't even want to talk for a week.
I would stop talking after I play. I wouldn't talk to anybody. I would just like go over
I do
my
that.
voice.
Yeah, when I'm singing a lot, I try not to talk a lot. You end up talking, though. I mean,
Yeah, you have to.
because we're at that blue-collar level, and we're that kind of band, and we have that kind of punk. We're not a punk band, but we have a punk energy, I guess, about us, or punk vibe. I think, if we didn't stay and talk to people, it wouldn't be genuine. We have to stay and hang out and stuff. That's who we are. So you end up talking a lot. So your voice gets really tired, which is why I could do podcasts and talk all day, because I have to talk a lot. I mean, it's a big part of my job.
Well, this has been really fun. Thank you for joining me on this.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And honestly, when you get the chance to, if you're listening and you see With Our Arms to the Sun is playing in your town, go see them, because they are probably one of the best bands I've heard in like the last 5 years.
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks for your support.
Of course, anytime.
Right on.
Appreciate it.
All right.
All right.
Have a good one.
You too, man.